and today we're going to start with the Focusrite USB interface. We will start by connecting the external monitor 1 and then the second external monitor. After that, we'll move to the USB connection and plug that in. And finally, we will plug in our power supply. After the power supply is connected, we can turn on the interface. After we flip the switch, we turn around to the front. We're using an XLR cable and we're plugging it into the input 1. Notice there's a 48 volt phantom power which controls input 1 and input 2. The gain on input 1 and input 2 can individually be adjusted. We also notice there's a second 48 volt phantom power which controls inputs 3 and 4. Inputs 3 and 4 can also be adjusted independently. Next, we're going to connect a set of headphones. There are two outputs for headphones. Output 1 can be individually adjusted, and output 2 can be individually adjusted as well. Next, we will look at the monitor adjustment. This dial controls the external speakers. To the right, increases the volume. To the left, decreases the volume. There is also a mute button where you can mute the external speakers completely. Now, looking at the external speakers, you can turn them on by turning the dial. The green light indicates they are on. Now, switching over to our microphone, open up the case, and carefully remove the microphone from the packaging. Notice the logo on the front of the microphone. When we go to install the microphone in the shock mount, align the front of the microphone towards the speaker. Slide the microphone in the shock mount housing and tighten. Just hand tighten is fine here. Then, connect the XLR cable. When you hear a click, the XLR cable is snapped in place. Before you start recording, it's a good idea to turn off your phone. Even the vibrate setting can be picked up by the microphone. When you sit down, it's a good idea to adjust the microphone to where it's comfortable for you. You can always adjust the gain later. Now, we'll open up the computer settings and make sure that the Focusrite USB interface is our default playback and recording setting. Let's look at the properties and go over to the Advanced tab and make sure the 24-bit 44100 sample rate is the selection. Next, let's open up Adobe Audition. Let's create a new file. And you can name it using your naming convention. Notice the sample rate is the 44100, the channel is mono, and we're using a bit depth of 32. From here, you can hit record and start recording your audio. You might need to adjust the levels once you get started. And remember, the levels can be independently adjusted on the USB interface. Whoops, you need to stop recording before you can close the program. Warranty and support. Identify warranty coverage provided in your local market. Please keep your sales receipt in a safe place. Retrieve a full version printable owner's manual for your product. Download software, firmware, and drivers for your product. Register your product. Contact technical support